What's up, everyone? This is BigPowner, and I'm back. um, so this is my kind of my welcome back video. I haven't made content in a while, and over the last several seasons, my content's been kind of like basically a few weeks. So most of the time, I haven't been making content, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, BigPowner quit." Um, that's not the case. The case was that they were making a lot of changes that I really didn't like. They basically removed a lot of the stuff that kept me playing. And then on top of that, I mean, like all of my friends stopped playing, or they'd play for like a week or two, and then everyone would stop playing. And just the game in general just became more and more dead because it was kind of like I think what was keeping a lot of people around and playing, or at least coming from maybe not the newer player base, because like newer players they might be playing it and be like, oh yeah, I still like it. They don't know the stuff that's changed. Um, but the game has definitely had definitely been going in a really bad direction for quite a while. And honestly, at first, like I like to stay positive, and it was kind of started like over a year ago. They started kind of taking the game in a direction that was like kind of like felt like they were just giving like a middle finger to their player base, and it really felt like they were just making the game worse and worse. Things like removing the end game that was the main things that kept players around, like the two things that really kept me around in the game, and for a lot of like the long time players and the hardcore players or players that have been around more than like, this is a brand new game and I'm still enjoying like all of that stuff that, players that have been around for a while don't enjoy anymore because they've played it so many times. The more experienced players is like, item crafting, end game type stuff, and slowly but surely they were removing more and more of that. And with this last season, they kind of made it so that like it was a big middle finger to new players, it was a big middle finger to older players, and honestly, the league mechanic was really good. But because they had a terrible interview and they flat out said, we don't care what players think. All right, yeah, that's not a good way to start your interview. I remember watching that video and I remember looking at the numbers, which were already way lower than you had seen, 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, 4 seasons ago. The numbers had kept on going down. And when they said that, you could see just tens of thousands of people dropping off of the viewing party. And like players that are already kind of disgruntled with the game, there's a lot of games out there to play, and you might really like this game, but if it becomes no longer enjoyable to play, you're going to stop playing it. So, um, every season, I hope that they're going to make good changes. And season after season, for over a year, I was very, very disappointed. Um, and not just for my own personal enjoyment, but also the what I see that they're doing to the community. The reason why this last league was so bad was because, like me as an experienced player that has the time to play and the knowledge to play and stuff like that, I could get my character to a place where I could play the end game content and stuff like that, which I did. Um, but playing through that and how much more difficult it was, the whole time I was thinking, man, being a newer player, this would just like I wouldn't, I probably, unless I set out as a challenge, like trying to put myself in that mind of like someone who's like trying to learn the game or someone who's newer at the game, and having played the last few seasons, um, I couldn't see very many players sticking around, and I haven't actually seen their numbers, but my guess is they're probably the worst numbers that the game has seen. Um, and hopefully, because so many players, like my entire friends list, which is crazy, and nearly every single person in my Discord, like all of them basically were stopping playing. I was hitting. I hopped on a few times and I hit social, and this is the first time I've seen people actually on. In I've been on probably the last 3 or 4 days or something like that, and this is the first time I've seen people on my friends list actually playing the game. And it's probably because the release for this upcoming league is actually really positive. And the biggest change, that that is probably bringing people back on now is something that almost 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was like, why did they change that? In fact, I saw another streamer was like, oh, why did they change this? Like, we like this new thing. Why are they doing this new way? Actually, they reverted it. And that's releasing the full patch notes over a week out before the launch of the game. And this used to be a really great thing that, and I don't know why they switched it to this, like releasing stuff right up till, the the launch of the game. It gives people a chance to try stuff out. It gives people that want to race or play with their groups of friends. It gives them a chance to kind of like create like a strategy. So when you have a week to do that, that gives you a reasonable amount of time to do it. But when you do it, you know, right before the league is going to launch or a couple days, most people aren't going to be able to do that. And when you're still releasing major changes to the game right up till the launch, it makes it so that all those people that like doing that can't do that because you could wind up releasing something that ruins their plan. And then they're going to be in this situation where they're like, I've spent all this time preparing the strategy, and then they drop this on me, and now my strategy is completely ruined. Why am I going to waste the time doing this? And there could be frustration there, and they might, not even play the season because, that frustrated state that they've left off in. But I feel like the patch notes. I feel like their interview went better. It was a lot more positive notes. That being said, because they made such high amount of nerfs last league, and you know, the fear was that they were going to completely ruin the game, that they were going to hit the game again with a severe nerf like that, and they probably would have killed their game. But having nerfed it so hard, it gave them basically the ability to blanket increases across the board. The most positive things that I think for these patch notes is they gave something to everyone. For league after league, it's felt like they've been kicking Delve in the teeth. I don't like Delve, but Delve players, it's a big part of the community. There's the Delve racers, and it really felt like just league after league after league. Every time I'm seeing these patch notes, it's like like GGG's just holding the head of those players and just like kicking them in the teeth, just like over and over and over again. And like last league, it's like finish him, like just like kick his head across the room. So I think that the changes that they made to Delve, and me not being a Delve player, I could be wrong, but it seems like they're bringing life back to Delve. As a player that doesn't play Delve, I definitely think that it would be something that would make it so that more players will try Delve, making it basically so that you can jump in and dive straight down to the equivalent of a tier 13 map. I think it's like 80 zones. So that's cool because, if you're one of those players that, doesn't want to be delving all the time, you don't want to jump in and have to go through, 13 levels. Well, actually, it would be 15 levels equivalent of pre-work to, get to a place where you're actually killing stuff that's worthwhile killing. They doubled the amount of soul fights, so it's like kind of starting you off like a little bit further ahead. So you can actually jump in and do some meaningful stuff in there. They increased the scaling of the rewards earlier on, and then they added like fractured stuff that has the delve specific nodes. I could see those being things that people are going to actually look for. They increase the amount of bosses like Ol, the frequency that they're going to be showing up. Also, the biggest thing that I can guarantee all of the delvers are going to be, like new and the hardcore ones, is that they've made it so that fossils are going to be harder to get other places in the game, which it had really become this like thing where delves were just delves. Well, yeah, delves. The major things that were like valuable in there, in general, I would say, because they're kind of like currency. Well, they're basically like a currency item. Was the fossils, and it's kind of just like they had just made them more and more available, just like everywhere in the game, besides like a few fossils, which was totally fine. when you had those super rare fossils that the only place that you could get them was out of Delve, and they were super value and they carried really good value, fractured fossils being the main one. But then they destroyed fractured fossils, which was like the finishing blow to Delve. That was the kicking the head across the room, was destroying the demand for those. Now beasts are worth more, more valuable, more useful. At least in this last league, fractured fossils were basically trash. Um, so they basically took away the major earning mechanic out of Delve. So I think this is going to bring some profitability back to Delve, which is awesome. More abilities to hit the boss fights. They really are bringing an end game, it seems like, to all of the best mechanics, by creating the this new like tier of advancement on top of mechanics that are already there. The upgraded blight maps, which I think is awesome that they're making it so that they drop inside of blight maps. I mean, I hope that they said that correctly in the videos. Is that they drop in the blight maps? There's a chance for them to drop in blight maps. So basically, you're farming blight maps. You can wind up getting these ultra blight maps that you can anoint 9 times, and like that sounds awesome. So that's really cool. Like quality of life changes. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm pretty sure they've said it like over and over again that they're gonna make loot easier to pick up and it's gonna drop in stacks. I don't know if like what they implemented was just so poorly implemented that um, that it wasn't even noticeable, because they've talked a lot about this, like less loot dropping, but the loot that's dropping is more meaningful, and it looks exactly the same to me. But supposedly now stuff will not drop in singles. Anything that can drop in stacks is going to drop in stacks. Supposedly, we're going to have better amounts of drops, just with less frequent drops. So that's awesome. Like less clicking, like got to get in my 20 billion clicks a league or whatever. So hopefully now that's like at least half of that. um, It'll be interesting to see how they do things like like Harbinger maps and stuff like that. Is it just going to drop like the solid items, or is it just going to be like still stacks of stacks? Anyways, though, I mean, like all those things, I'm I'm super stoked about. Expedition going core. Honestly, Expedition was an amazing mechanic. At least, I mean, like I really like the Expedition mechanics. The way that I kind of see it is it's kind of like a blight map. It's like blight maps without towers, which is pretty cool. Like I really like it, and I like the risk reward where you can like upgrade it, like as much as you can fit in those circles if your character's strong enough, or you can be more selective and only hit that stuff that's not really going to affect your difficulty of the fight. Like you can literally wind up making them impossible to complete. So I think that that's really cool. It's something that you gotta like pay attention to, and it is really rewarding. There are some nerfs that are going into Expedition with it coming into the new league. And those nerfs are, well, first off, you're not going to be able to get over item level 83 expeditions, so that's a nerf. Um, Obviously, because like higher higher base tier is gonna drop higher base tier stuff. So yeah, I mean that's a nerf, and then obviously not as much experience, blah blah blah. Not as good at inherent drops, just based off of the tier. So that's a nerf right there. The other big nerf is going to be that they're making fossils not drop as much in other places. Like some of my favorite maps were like fossil maps. Expeditions were like the expedition maps. I'll do a big thing on expeditions. Just kind of like to cover like what's good early, what's good late, like tips from doing a bunch of them. I'll cover that, but I really do like the expeditions. If you didn't play this last league, it will definitely be something to probably try out this league, because I can assume we're going to get lots of the players back that haven't been playing, because like me and a lot of other people it just didn't like the changes. So I mean, it's just basically buffs across the board. Um, the league mechanic for this league, I think, is going to be really good. It's basically like corrupting, but you have three chances, so more people I think might try it. So I think that that's going to be good. And then the other thing is that it can upgrade your maps. It can upgrade your items. I think that it's going to be a mechanic that people are going to be able to enjoy, and it's a mechanic that I can actually see taking people past that first couple weeks. Like, GGG said, we can see people using this like really early for like leveling items, and that's cool, that it can be used that way. But really, the thing that makes a good league is having stuff that's going to keep people in the league. So the thing that I was super worried about is they were talking about, chopping off like half of our atlas. Honestly, like with the direction, that they had been taking things, I thought that this could have been like a severe blow to the game. It doesn't really sound good when you're like, oh, we're going to be taking away more stuff from you. And the way that they'd been doing that, for at least last year was, it was just basically like, this is no longer useful. We're taking the things that you guys enjoy. We're taking the things that people enjoy playing. It's like, why? Like, don't you want us playing your game? um, but I actually really like the way that they're changing it. As far as being a league player, I really like the changes, and being a content creator that wants to see like players of all different, experience levels, new players, more experienced players enjoying the game. I think that this new Atlas change, can actually be really good, and I would like to say I'm always excited about Atlas changes. The reason why is because their Atlas expansions have been like the one thing that consistently, even when they've been going through this like bad streak, which they have been on a bad streak. You ask any like longtime player, and they're gonna be like, yeah, like what is GGG doing? Like players I've been playing with for years are like just not playing at all, like not even league starting, nothing. So they had been taking the game a really bad direction. um, but they've done just a lot. I think I can't find like anything in these patch notes that I don't like, and that was the one thing that I was really worried about. Um, so the reason why I like it, the whole idea of losing a bunch of maps, I don't really like. But what I do like is this: more players are going to go further into like actually playing the end game content, and the reason why is because there's going to be less stuff to complete. They cut down the number of watchstones, they cut down the number of, like everything that you basically have to complete by a large amount, which I think is really good because, I don't think there's very many people that have gone through the game more than like a couple times and are like, yeah, man, I get to grind my Atlas. Like, yeah, like that's what I want to do. Normally, like grinding the Atlas is like the thing that you're doing to like, get to what it is that you want to be doing. And so I think that cutting it down in the way that they've done it, they didn't remove like half of the maps, like which I think if they would have removed half the maps, that would have been a little bit much. I think they actually did it a pretty good way. They reduced the zones, but they expanded the zones so that the zones have more maps. We'll see how it actually works, but like I said, I always really like Atlas expansions. Like they've always done a really good job on Atlas expansions. And they have always turned out to be really good leagues. I can't remember an Atlas expansion, that I haven't stuck around for basically like almost the whole league or the whole league. So I'm really stoked about that. And with it also having a good league mechanic, I think it's going to be really good. And then like I said, the changes, man, like the changes are all good. Like, and the cool thing also is that they release these patch notes, with a week before the launch of the game, which gives people the chance to read them and be like, wow, this is going to be a good league, and get hyped up and plan out builds and stuff like that. Ever since they changed that, I wanted them to change it back, but it was a perfect time to bring it back because they need their game revitalized. They need to bring back their players, and hopefully they deliver. Based on the patch notes, it sounds like they're going to, but we will see. I mean, I honestly don't see anything really bad about this. There are some changes that I could see some players being like, ugh, like I don't know what to do. Like they're changing armor. They're doing some major reworks. They're changing how basically like you build defenses, and I could see some players being like cautious about that because it's like going to be something new that they're going to have to learn. Um, like I don't like my initial kind of reaction was like they're removing dodge, and I'm like, ugh, like that's what I use. I use evade dodge stacking, and like blind and blah blah blah. So they've changed a lot of that stuff, but they are balancing it so that it should be easier for you to build defenses, and all of the different defensive choices should be more equal. And from what it seems like from me looking at it, is that you're going to have to allocate less into defenses, which means you're going to have more points to like do what you want to do with your character, which means overall you should have a stronger character based on this, which I think is good. Like, they're adding like some super end game, and then like they're kind of streamlining defenses, making them easier to kind of like build defenses on characters. And then they also did like major tree rework. I really like the idea of it. We're going to see how it works. It's basically like being able to choose, like they call them niche stats. But basically, like you're going to be able to like choose kind of like when you fill in a cluster, you're going to be able to choose like an extra thing that's going to be like structured around what it is that your build wants. So I think that's really cool. It's going to bring more customization. Their goal there being that like you don't have to be like, I need this specific stat, so I have to run here and I have to run here. It's going to be more like, all right, I want, these stats are good for what I want to do. These stats are good for what I want to do. And then these are my niche stats, and you just pick those basically. Some other cool things that I'm looking forward to, they've kind of opened up like defensive choices in like in classes that you normally wouldn't have those defensive choices by doing this. They also added I forget the name of it, but basically they've added a good amount of stuff that are going to make it so that we're going to be able to make some interesting builds, like maybe like energy shield archers. Like I haven't seen those in a while. Um, or just like basically just like non-traditional stuff. I think that that's partially going to be because we're looking at like new multiplayer setups where like people are going to be able to do the links. I think that that's going to be cool. Um, and I like the kind of like risk reward idea that they have behind these. Like basically the support is like risking themselves by like being attached to you. Um, and it's going to kind of like make it not just this like boring play style to be a support where you're basically just like, oh, I stand here. um, so like more active play style for support, which I think is going to encourage more team play. You can definitely see like some crazy possibilities for that going on. Like you're gonna probably see like some super like DPS pumping characters just like getting like linked to linked to some crazy bots, and with the increases to the base defensive stats of all this stuff and the way that they've restructured defenses, I think this is gonna just be like an amazing overall league. Um, Maybe there's going to be some like aura bots out there that are like, man, I don't get to just stack auras. Um, Probably not too many, because like a lot of people that I know that wind up playing aura bots, they're kind of like playing it and they don't really like it and they kind of get bored of it, but really they're just doing it to like stack currency to then make the build that they want to make. So maybe this will make it like more fun for more players to play kind of that supportive role. So I mean, there's so many good changes um, that I'm gonna have to do multiple videos on this. I will go through like all the patch notes and kind of do a things that you should pay attention to, like major things. There's like tons of small stuff. Like they've kind of like balanced like damage on a few items or like base damage or like how things are able to work together. Like like melee characters can't use bows anymore, which they were kind of already headed in that direction. But I mean, there's like other positive things. Like they've scaled up number to number damage on quivers, which they really needed to do that. It was just kind of like one of those stats. It was just like it's just a bad stat, and it kind of gave like prefixes on a lot of like quivers. Like there's not really that much good there. um, so I think I mean there's just so much good stuff. Um, so yeah, but I think this is gonna be a really good league. If you guys haven't guys, gals, if you haven't been playing for a while, I definitely think that this is the league to come back, give it a try. They've addressed a lot of the major things that I think were a lot of players' complaints, and they've basically buffed up um, uh, most of the mechanics, the major mechanics for the game, and giving it an end game, which is like one of the things that I think a lot of players that don't stick around past that first week, 2 weeks, or have completely stopped playing. That's one of the major complaints. So, anyways, I'm stoked. I hope you guys are stoked. I'll have a bunch more content coming out. Thanks for watching. Peace.